Are you guys ready? Okay. Just so you know, I am feeling a little bit better. Not 100%, but maybe 70. So we're getting there. Shout out time. Here's a shout out just for you. You support me, so I support you. Our shout out today is for GypsyLola. Lola. Hello, fellow aliens. Thanks for visiting my channel. Mother of 3, loves coffee, shopping, and mindless and learning to skate. Interesting. She does a lot of shopping videos, especially for places like Dollar General sales, clearances. Very interesting blogs, definitely. Not much of a shopper myself, but I do enjoy seeing what's out there, what people are interested in, and the prices of things in different areas. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, like, share, comment, let her know we sent you by, and have a good day. Tell us something fun, Mr. Joseph.
Well, this is Joe, the bearded historian for the Bud Files. We're going to do kind of a two-shot here. First of all, talking about Fort Meade, since we already had the one video. Interestingly enough, Fort Meade was established as a U.S. Army post in 1878 through 1944. Currently, it's being used by the Veterans Health Administration as a hospital, and the South Dakota Army National Guard uses it as a training facility. A lot of the former reservation is presently being managed by the Bureau of Land Management as the Fort Meade Recreation Area, and is also home to the Fort Meade National Cemetery, a nice little resting place for the deceased. It was originally built to basically protect the illegal white settlements in the Great Sioux Reservation in the northern Black Hills, and especially around the gold mining area near Deadwood. Several stage and freight routes pass through Fort Meade en route to Deadwood. We talked a little bit about those highways from Bismarck and from Fort Pierre as well. Because they would take and come across the open plains, approaching the low foothills, and then there's a canyon route that would go straight up into where is presently Deadwood. For a while there also is a established rail line that helped move gold and various products in and out once the railroad reached this far.
Excuse me.
Fort Meade itself, interestingly enough, was never in that location to start with. Originally, it was set up to the north, a good 3 miles north of what was known as Bear Butte. Bear Butte, of course, is still there. Bear Butte, depending on who you talk to. What was kind of interesting with Bear Butte is that it's able to be seen for a long ways away.
Yeah, even though it's not very big.
Yeah, you can see it basically from... I remember they showed a monument to a guy named Ben Ash, and you can actually still see it from there, and I think that was over 70 miles away. It was he's one of the first guys to actually see the Black Hills from that angle, and it was kind of the inspiration for them to continue on their trip to plot out the course for that first original freeway, as they would call it. Originally from Bismarck. If you put up Bismarck and you put up Deadwood and then drew a straight line, that's about how they figured out which way the route would go. Of course, they had to take into consideration things like river crossings, land that was not exactly very suitable for travel, but they were able to lay out their course pretty close to that. The original first military camp was established in August of 1876 on Spring Creek. Now, this little location, interestingly enough, wound up being named, let me get my records here just right, was called Camp Sturgis in honor of the 2nd Lieutenant James G. Sturgis, who was killed in the Battle of Little Bighorn. During the occupation of this camp, the present site of Fort Meade is situated just outside the western foothills of the Black Hills, and on the south side of Bear Butte Creek was selected and located as a permanent United States military post, established in garrison in August 31st, 1878. Now, the new post replaced the old camp, Sturgis, and was first actually named Camp Rulin, for the Lieutenant George Rulin, 17th U.S. Infantry Quartermaster Officer, who supervised the building of the post. It was established by Major Henry M. Lazelle, who has his name immortalized as one of the streets in Sturgis, 1st United States Infantry, and Companies D and H of the 11th U.S. Infantry on a site selected by Lieutenant General Philip H. Sheridan on the east side of Bear Butte Creek in the Black Hills, 14 miles northeast of the town of Deadwood. General Order 27, issued at the Department of Dakota headquarters, announced the Secretary of War had designated that the post Fort Meade, in honor of Major General George G. Meade of Civil War fame, and the first commander was a Samuel D. Sturgis, 7th Cavalry. Now, the work on building this post, which an appropriation of $100,000 was made, had begun on August 28, 1878, to be completed the next year. Now, the original appropriation, not providing sufficient to meet the cost of necessary buildings, an additional appropriation of $11,000, and then a special appropriation of $13,000 was made for the post hospital to complete the task in it. Now, according to the information that we were able to obtain, the way that the fort was garrisoned, says occupation, the original was consisted of troops E and M of the 7th Cavalry, companies F and K of the 1st Infantry, with Major H. M. Lazelle of the 1st United States Infantry in command. In June of 1879, the garrison was reinforced by the arrival of Band and Troops C and G, 7th Cavalry, and on the 10th of July, 1879, troops of A and H of the 7th Cavalry, at which time Colonel S.D. Sturgis assumed command of the post. In September of 1879, companies D and H, 1st Infantry from Fort Sully, joined, increasing the garrison to 4 companies of infantry and 6 troops of cavalry. On May 13, 1880, companies D, F, H, and K left for Texas and were replaced by companies A, B, H, and K of the 25th Infantry, colored infantry, with Captain D.D. Van Valhalla, 25th Infantry in temporary command, Colonel Sturgis being already on leave. On May 19, 1881, Colonel Sturgis resumed command, but relinquished in June, going to Washington, D.C. to take charge of the soldiers' home. And from that time, the post was commanded successfully by Van Velzen, the 25th Infantry, Major Edward Ball, 7th Cavalry, and Colonel Joseph G. Tilford, another little town south of the town of Sturgis with his name, of the 7th Cavalry, until July 1886, when Colonel James W. Forsyth was assigned to command and remained until June of 1887. In 1887, the 4 companies of the 25th Infantry were replaced by 4 companies of 3rd Infantry in June 1888. The 7th Cavalry Regiment was sent to Fort Riley, Kansas, and the 3rd Infantry to some other point when the post was re-garrisoned by the 8th Cavalry Regiment, consisting of 8 troops under the command of Colonel Elmer Otis. In June of 1891, Colonel Otis was superseded by Colonel C.H. Carleton, who was retired from active service in June 1897, when Colonel John M. Bacon took command of the garrison. Soon after the beginning of the Spanish-American War, Colonel Bacon was ordered to St. Paul, Minnesota.
Do you think Colonel Bacon liked bacon?
You can hope he was a turkey fan.
Oh.
Leaving the post in charge of Major Robert McGregor. Pending the war, the 8th Cavalry Regiment, which had occupied the post for 10 years, was broken up and scattered. The last troops to be leaving on October 6, 1898 for Huntsville, Alabama, where they would be sent to join the Army of Occupation in Cuba. The garrison in 1898 consisted of 2 troops from the 1st United States Cavalry, transferred there from the battlefields of San Juan Hill and El Caney. Now, in 1879, the horse named Comanche, which was the surviving, you can call him Meade, of the Battle of Little Bighorn, was brought to Fort Meade by the 7th Cavalry Regiment. This was where Custer got himself basically wiped out.
Because he's a dum-dum head.
Pretty much. There he was treated like a prince until 1888, when he was taken to Fort Riley, Kansas. He died at Fort Riley a few years later and was buried with military honors. Shortly thereafter, the horse's remains were sent to a taxidermist. In the early 1900s, Comanche was on display at the Natural History Museum at the University of Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas. Restoration of the display was completed in 2005. Now, as we mentioned in the video, this also was the home of the national anthem. It was here that the Star-Spangled Banner first became the official music of the military retreat ceremony, long before it became the national anthem. In 1892, the post commander, Colonel Caleb H. Carleton, 8th Cavalry, began the custom of playing the Star-Spangled Banner at military ceremonies and requested that all people rise and pay proper respect long before it became the national anthem. Now, the other thing that was kind of interesting, and I have the secondary information on this, is that in 1888, when the fort was still relatively young, the town of Sturgis was founded, and Sturgis in its own right has a kind of unique history. They originally were named the Scoopers because they liked to scoop the money out of the military's pockets while they were tending to their needs, keeping people supplied with edible supplies of food, liquor, other novelties. Presently, its census is 7,020, but right now there is what's known as the Sturgis Rally going on. On the average, the rally can bring in anywhere from 1 to 3 million bikers from all over the world. You'll have bikers that will come over, they'll fly over and then bring their bikes in via, freight. Sometimes some people will be ambitious enough to just, rent their bikes while they're here. Some people wind up, they like the Black Hills so much, they move in. And the interesting part with the rally is it has been going on now, dating all the way back, let's see, we've got, go back like this one page.
He lost it?
Yep.
Be patient, guys, he lost it. It's okay.
Crash. The rally traditionally goes from the 5th of August to the 14th. And let's see, what year did they say this?
I didn't realize it had actual dates. I always just thought of it as the first week of August.
Yeah, usually they just show up. This is the 82nd year that they've been doing the rally. The first rallies, were pretty small. They would have anywhere from, 2,000 to 3,000 bikers. But, it also started a really good camaraderie of riders. They would start, trying to work their way down the little highways and, roads that existed at the time. They managed to survive through, the Great Depression, through World War II. And as word got out, more and more bikers. It was almost kind of like Mecca. The bikers would have to get to Sturgis. And it also gets kind of funny because pretty much once about, say, late June, you'll start seeing bikers. And you can ask pretty much any biker, have you been to Sturgis? Some of these guys have got patches just covering their leather jackets. And it's been kind of impressive. I remember seeing one guy who had over 30 patches that he'd been to. And it's, and they have some great stories, They usually have several big concerts, several events, including one where they do a hill climb with a motorcycle, literally straight up a hill that's a 75-degree angle.
No.
That's very dangerous, but, they have drag races. And then, during that week, they have routes that they'll take and go from, Deadwood down to Rochford. They'll take and go up into Wyoming by Hewlett.
Basically, if you're a motorcyclist, you may want to go. If you're not, you may want to stay far, far away.
Yeah. I've only been there actually twice. The first time I took it, just wanted to see what it was like.
I don't think I've ever actually been to the rally.
Yeah, a lot of black leather, a lot of noise. I'm not fond of that much noise, but I know there are some people that truly do enjoy the Harley Davidsons and the motor cycle life. If you are a motorcyclist, more power to you.
I have nothing against them. I just think they're loud.
Yeah. But later on, we'll take and look at the idea of possibly doing a shoot at the, towards the end of the rally. And then we'll also have a separate piece for the actual history of Sturgis. But this is Joe from the Bud Files. And you folks have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.